So I can just start it off and then maybe cue it up for other folks. I mean, I think one of the challenges that we have, no matter how plentiful or absent resources are in assuming that we know exactly what will fit best within different systems. And I think other speakers said it better in terms of trying to look first at the situation on the ground and develop interventions, develop solutions that specifically fit whatever that level is. I know within mental health, we have a preponderance of psychotherapeutic interventions that assume that you have a captive audience or interest for 10 to 15 to 18 to 30 weeks at a time, when we know that within practice there may only be 1 or 2 sessions that someone may actually be around for. And so I think it's resources on all different dimensions. There's the financial resource. There's certainly the resources just in terms of personnel. And there's the consistency, the desire for a fit between what we see as a solution with the actual environment. And so I think part of it really does come from, as was said before, thinking about creation, knowledge creation, not absent from the ultimate use of that knowledge, but actually developing solutions that are tailor-made for the settings given incredible limitations and trying to find efficiencies there too.
I'd just like to mention one thing that we're trying to do to address this, using some of our federal resources to actually be more actively involved with federal and local agencies that are making decisions to help them design the rollout of new programs in a way that can be evaluated very well. So that we're really looking for efficiency here. So often schools and states roll out things all at once. We're trying to get them to be thinking more about piloting with a real strong evaluation design so that there's much better use of their resources. So we think our role is kind of a capacity building around doing better evaluation and being more analytic and more careful about how programs are rolled out.
Yeah, so I think your question about resources is actually not only a result of current budget discussions. I think that when you're talking about the relevance of research and driving it into practice, one of the very common things is that one organization or one entity doesn't own the process from the beginning to the end. What you're really talking about is a mixture between the research activities all the way to the practitioner activities. And so even in a perfect world where all budgets were going up, you can still have resource mismatches. In other words, you have to look at that whole portfolio of activities because in the end, you're going to be as strong as the weakest link in the chain. And so there's always a responsibility to look sort of holistically at this whole chain of performance and make sure that all of the parties are participating. So we've seen mismatches in cases when, in fact, budgets were tight just because somebody didn't understand that they were playing a key role. I think what the budget situations do is they make this more imperative, right? It's even more important to take a full look at doing this. And one thing to keep in mind is these things often get cast as relative priorities. Whilst the research is overfunded, that's probably not the most useful way to look at it. Remember that because it focuses you on one particular budget line, there are reasons where a certain organization has a unique contribution to make, and so you don't want to be taking that organization away. So if an organization was designed to be a top research organization, you don't want to be pulling them away to do less research and try to do more transit. So I think you really have to take sort of a portfolio approach, and it's broader, likely that it's much broader than federal questions. It gets right into state, local, and non-government organizations and everybody in between.
I also think that at the operational level, one of the things that we tend to do is that every time there's a sort of a new practice identified, we just add that on top of everything else that's going on. Instead of looking at how do you redesign, what it is folks are doing, sort of at the field level to incorporate these new practices, and maybe that means letting go of some of the other things that are being done because they don't seem as effective or as germane. So it's one of how do you integrate the findings from new research practices into the totality of what's going on sort of at the operational level, not just keep adding on individual, you know, additional things to do until someone just sort of feels like they're totally overwhelmed. So there often has to be a redesign, you know, sort of field practices when you want to add in sort of some kind of new best practice.